Wind power has come a long way since Don Quixote tilted his lance at the windmills that dotted rural Spain in the 17th century. Each of these turbines in Navarra, a region tucked between the Atlantic and the Pyrenees, is 80 meters high and capable of producing enough electricity to power 1,000 homes. With no coal, oil or gas of its own, Navarra made a deliberate switch from polluting fossil fuels to renewable energy sources in the late 1980s. The move has paid off. Today, almost 3/4 of the region's electricity comes from renewables, mainly wind, but also hydroelectric power, biomass and solar energy. Navarra's switch to green energy is not only good news for the environment, helping to cut greenhouse gases and improve air quality, but for the local economy and the jobs that depend on it. There are over 100 renewable energy companies in the region, and between them, they employ 6,000 people and generate 5% of Navarra's wealth. This factory near Fastiñana in southern Navarra produces supports for photovoltaic solar panels that move with the position of the sun. With the local market booming and export orders rising, its marketing manager says the plant provides much-needed work in this job-scarce area.
Los empleos que ha creado el grupo OPD han sido en el año 2008.
The OPDE group created 350 jobs in 2008, 350 jobs of different types: mechanics, electricians, engineers, and people that work in electricity. These jobs didn't exist 4 years ago. Despite the downturn in the global economy, the European Union's environmental goods and services sector is buoyant. It operates a trade surplus with the rest of the world, and European firms are global leaders in recycling, wind and solar energy, and the production of cleaner cars, buses and trains. This is the Pamplona headquarters of Acciona Energy, one of the world's biggest renewable power producers. From this control room, a team of young operators can switch on or off over 200 wind parks across the globe. This fast-growing company also builds wind turbines and runs solar and biomass plants in over a dozen countries.
Nuestra compañía en los últimos 3 años ha crecido.
The workforce in our company has tripled in the last 3 years.
La plantilla. Esto de alguna forma resulta ilustrativo.
This illustrates the job-creating potential of new energy technologies, such as clean energy. This is particularly important in a time of economic and employment crisis, like we're in now. Up to 1 in 10 jobs in the EU is already linked to the environment, and the number of workers employed in the sector is expected to soar over the next decade, as the bloc strives to meet its ambitious goal of cutting greenhouse gas emissions by 1/5 by 2020. The Union has also set a target of producing 20% of its energy from renewable sources by the same date, a goal that's expected to lead to a mushrooming in green jobs. Europe's wind energy industry has created 60,000 new jobs in the past 5 years, bringing the total employed in the sector to 160,000. With wind energy now accounting for almost half of new electricity generating capacity in the EU, the industry expects the number of workers employed in the sector to double by 2020, helping boost Europe's ailing manufacturing base. In Navarra, they're taking steps to make sure that the jobs created in renewable technologies are sustainable jobs. In the National Center for Training in Renewables outside Pamplona, students and mid-career professionals are preparing for employment in the renewable sector and learning new skills for a new economy. This type of training is essential to tackle the negative consequences of the economic crisis in the short term and meet the challenges of restructuring in the long term. The EU is also helping provide new skills for new jobs through its social and regional funds. Another key to maintaining Europe's leadership in green technologies is research and development. At the National Renewable Energies Center in Pamplona, over 200 scientists are working on the next generation of renewable technologies. The EU has earmarked over 100 billion euros for investments in the green economy over the next 4 years, helping to create jobs, spur growth and protect the environment. Europe is on the cusp of a green revolution that could have profound effects on the labour market. As the EU moves to a low-carbon economy, there will be many winners. But there will also be losers in old polluting industries. This could be a threat if preventative measures are not taken to reduce the risks of restructuring. If we do not plan a medium-term strategy, then reactions will be negative. They could even be brutal and difficult to manage socially. For this reason, workforces should be managed taking the future into account, and appropriate retraining will be a necessary part of this. We will need to plan the different phases required to transform the workflow, otherwise men and women will react violently. One town which was hit hard by industrial restructuring was Ollerton near Nottingham in the English East Midlands. Until 1994, 600 workers were employed in the local pit. Then overnight, all the miners were thrown on the dole. One of them was Stan Crawford, who is now managing director of the Sherwood Energy Village.
Shutting of the colliery was devastating for any mining community. It was the main industry that the male workforce went to. And particularly in the case of Ollerton, it was virtually overnight. There was no running, no lead into it. It was devastating, and a lot of mining communities went down onto the knees and never recovered.
Instead of allowing the community to die like so many coal and steel areas in Europe, the miners of this town banded together to search for a radical solution. At a time when the green agenda was still in its infancy, Crawford and his fellow miners decided to use sustainable development as a regeneration tool to attract business and investment.
What the community actually felt was if we couldn't have the mine, we didn't want the dirt. We didn't want to be a dirty town. And it started by saying, well, if we can't have the mine, let's be clean. And then it started, the sort of mindset moved on to, well, if it's clean, it could be green. And it went on that way. A lot of people thought we were idiots. A lot of people thought, why are you talking about energy efficiency and sustainability? Just burn coal.
With the help of EU regional funds, the colliery site has now been completely reclaimed. Slag heaps have been turned into nature trails, and low-carbon offices, fitted with ground source heat pumps, have been built on land once devoted to the extraction of coal. Going green has paid off for Ollerton. 1,200 jobs have already been created on the site of the former mine, double the number lost in the 1990s, and 2,000 are planned. The town now has a much more sustainable economy, based on diversified industries like tourism, leisure services and environmental technologies. Some of the workers are former miners who have been retrained and reskilled for the new services era. Another of the companies that have set up shop on the Sherwood Energy Village is Ground Source Solutions. The firm, which employs 35 local workers and 750 worldwide, installs pump systems that extract clean energy from the earth to heat buildings.
We like to think that we've sort of helped create a full circle on the site. Originally the site was a colliery, and the reason for the site being here was to extract coal from the earth, taking energy from the earth. And in many ways we've come full circle. We've brought an industry here that again extracts energy from the earth. So it's a nice synergy with the site.
In Ollerton, over 100 houses are now being built to the same strict environmental standards as the offices in the award-winning Energy Village. The construction sector has perhaps the greatest potential for creating new jobs that will also help reduce energy bills and greenhouse gas emissions. The British government estimates 400,000 new jobs could be created in the environmental sector in coming years. Many of these will be in retrofitting energy-intensive houses with insulation and double glazing. Sherwood Energy Village is now seen as a role model for communities making the switch from old, polluting industries to new, greener ones. It's advising the Romanian government on how to manage the pit closure program, and is likely to have a lot more work in the years to come as Europe makes the switch to a low-carbon economy. 15 years after the closure of the pit he once worked in, Crawford has every reason to view his rejuvenated community with pride.
I'm really proud to have been a small part in keeping this town alive and creating jobs to do that. I was from the mining industry, and it was demoralising to see that industry collapse. We have to move on. People have to do that. And we as a community have decided to do it and embrace the green agenda, environmental issues and sustainable development.